Under the Depths by John Ulfried. Prologue. The Last Stand at Vukovar, November 20th, 1991. Perspective. Alex Novak. I sit by the lake in Vukovar, Croatia, trying to ignore the chaos lurking just beyond our small haven. The city behind me is a charred skeleton, shrouded in gray-black smoke from the bombings. Every stone I skip across the water sinks with a hollow plop, my frustration growing with each throw. At 19, I'm no longer a child, but this war has aged me far beyond my years. The once peaceful lakeside, where my sister Fatima and I used to play, feels like the last sliver of normalcy in a world that's been torn apart. Fatima and I share the same striking green eyes, a family trait passed down through generations. But where my hair is auburn, hers is blonde, a bright contrast to the darkness closing in around us. I throw another stone, feeling my patience with this game of hide-and-seek wearing thin. Fatima always finds me, like she will today, but the distraction is losing its charm. As the third stone disappears into the lake, I let out a frustrated shout. I hate this stupid game! The words echo across the still water, an attempt to break through a reality I can't escape. Her small, determined footsteps approach through the tall grass. I don't have to turn around to know that she's scanning the usual hiding spots, behind the barn, by the truck.
She's not here,
she says softly, her voice floating in the still air as she comes closer. And then I hear it again, the dull thud of explosions, louder this time, closer. Fatima leaps into me from behind, laughing as she tackles me to the ground. Gotcha, sissy! Her innocent grin doesn't fit in this world anymore. Not here. I force a smile, but the explosions in the distance make it hard to hold on to. I press a smooth stone from my pocket into her hand, hoping the small gesture will keep her in this fleeting moment just a little longer. But the calm is already fading. The whirring of helicopters grows louder. Another explosion ripples through the air, shaking the fragile peace around us. We need to go home, I say, keeping my voice steady, though the dread inside me is rising. When we get back to the house, the tension inside is thick. The war isn't just on the horizon anymore. It's right here at our door. The injured fill every corner of our small home. Refugees, resistance fighters, strangers we've come to care for as our own. Fatima and I join our parents, Dr. Frederick and Alex Novak, moving through the makeshift triage center we've set up in what used to be our living room. A woman lies on a cot near the window, bruised and silent. She doesn't say much, but there's something about her. Something in the way she watches everything around her, even in pain. I don't recognize her, though her face tugs at the edges of familiarity. She's different. Maybe that's why I can't place her. I glance at Fatima, her hands trembling with exhaustion as she bandages a man's leg. You need to rest, I say softly.
I can't,
she whispers back, her voice hoarse.
There's too much to do.
Our father comes in with a tray of antibiotics, his face shadowed with concern.
Fatima, you're pushing yourself too hard,
he says, readying an injection to give her strength. Before he can administer it, the woman stirs.
Wait,
she says, her voice faint but commanding. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small vial, its contents glowing faintly in the dim light. What is that? I ask, narrowing my eyes at the vial. It doesn't look like anything we've used before. The woman glances at my father, her gaze lingering on him.
This will help her,
she says quietly, handing over the vial.
She's worked so hard, she needs this.
My father freezes, his expression tight. There's a flicker of something in his eyes, a shift, as though he's suddenly seeing something he hadn't noticed before. He doesn't speak right away, just stares at the woman, a strange uncertainty creeping into his posture.
Frederick,
the woman says softly, as if testing the name on her tongue. That small word is like a key turning in a lock. My father's face goes pale. He knows her.
Where did you?
He trails off, shaking his head, but I can see the way his mind is racing. He knows exactly where it came from. He just doesn't want to believe it.
Give it to her.
the woman says again, more insistent this time. After a moment of hesitation, my father nods. His hands are steady as he switches the vials, injecting Fatima with the strange liquid. But there's something wrong. My father's calmness is a mask. His breathing is faster now, his eyes flicking back to the woman as if expecting something to happen. Fatima's body relaxes almost immediately. Her trembling stops, and she smiles weakly. "It's working," she says, though I can hear the uncertainty in her voice. She doesn't understand what's been given to her, and neither do I. But my father knows. His voice cracks as he speaks, the words barely above a whisper.
Victoria.
The name escapes his lips, a faint sound that seems to hang in the air. My stomach tightens. I've never heard that name before. The woman, Victoria, nods, her eyes softening.
It's me.
She says, though her tone is weighed down with something unspoken. There's history here, something deeper than I can grasp. My father looks like he's seen a ghost. I glance between them, my confusion growing by the second. "Dad?" I murmur, unsure of what's happening. "Who is she?" He doesn't answer, but I can see the weight of the name dragging him down. The name, Victoria, isn't just a memory. It's something more. A piece of his past, coming back to haunt him. From the next room, my mother calls out for him, breaking the tension. My father glances one last time at Victoria before he leaves the room, the unease still heavy on his face. I look at her, feeling a knot tighten in my chest. Who is she? And why do I feel like everything just changed? Before I can dwell on it, the front door crashes open, and Boris, the commander of the occupying forces, storms in with his men. His wild eyes sweep over the room.
"Resistance sympathizers,
He roars.
you'll pay for this."
Everything happens in a blur. My mother pulls me behind her just as Boris hurls a grenade into the room. Time seems to slow. I grab the nearest thing, a broom, and swing it with all my strength. The grenade flies back toward Boris, and the explosion that follows rattles the entire house, throwing me to the ground. When I open my eyes, smoke fills the room. Bodies scattered across the floor. The coppery smell of blood hangs heavy in the air, and all I can see is my mother's motionless form. "Mom!" My voice cracks as I crawl to her side. She's cold, pale. I reach for the locket she always wore, my fingers trembling as I hold it close. Always together, close to my heart, the engraving reads. Tears blur my vision. Fatima crawls beside me, her wide eyes brimming with the same horror I feel. I hand her the other half of the locket, and together, we hold on to it, the last piece of our parents we have left. "We'll never let go," I whisper, my voice shaking. "Always." Fatima's voice is soft, choked with tears.
"Always,"
she echoes. Victoria limps over, her voice thick with regret.
I didn't mean for this to happen.
She murmurs. But I can't respond. I can't feel anything beyond the weight of the locket in my hand, and the crushing realization that nothing will ever be the same again. As dawn breaks over the horizon, we leave behind the only home we've ever known. The lockets are clutched tightly in our hands. We still have each other, but the war has taken everything else. No matter where we go, I will never let go of the locket. It's all I have left of my parents, and the life we once had.